Welcome back, folks. If you're welcome back to the Tesla Talks podcast. This isn't a podcast. This is going to be a live check-in and a live Q&A with the Charge Across Canada guys, Cyril and Jeff. As you can see on the screen there, I've got them a live feed of them in their car, their Tesla Model 3. They're just adjusting some settings here, so bear with us. Apologize that we started a little bit late, but these guys are doing pretty good. And I thought for a second there Cyril rolled the car, but no, he just moved the phone. I think he's getting the audio set, and then we'll be in.
I told him not to roll the car again.
Again, yeah, no, it's never a good thing.
We got it out of the ditch the first time, but I don't know if we're gonna get it out of the ditch again. Jeff, you messing with this stuff.
So while these guys get this stuff ready, let me just give you some interesting stats that these guys have been on. I'm looking here at and there's a link. I think I put the link down in the description below. If not, I will, of this video. There's a link to a website. It's a live tracker website for the Drive Across Canada. These guys, according to this tracker here, these guys have traveled, and I apologize, these are in kilometers. You'll have to convert it to miles if you want miles. These guys have traveled 4,402 kilometers. I'm guessing that's about 3,000 miles thereabouts. Yeah, well, here's the other thing, though. You guys, from what I understand, reading some of your posts from some people posting stuff, you're just past the halfway mark.
Yes.
I don't know if that disappoints you or depresses you, or gets you energetic because now you know you're over the top of the hill. But
the hardest part is long behind us, and we're looking good from here on in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, well, yeah, the longest part was probably, or the hardest part was probably the island of Newfoundland, and where there weren't superchargers. Now you're in the land of superchargers, and we'll get to that in a second. I just want to give people at home that are listening or watching these stats. Like I said, 4,404 kilometers. Sorry, you guys have been traveling combined, and I think this is with the ferry time excluded. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. 95 hours and 33 minutes. That's when you hear these numbers, that's just crazy. And like I said, that's, you guys paused it for the ferry, right?
Yes, the trucker was paused for the ferry.
Yeah. I believe. So that is some serious.
But we still traveled on the ferry, so we went those miles, but not the car.
Yeah.
The car was with me.
The car was with you, yes. So
at 5%.
5%.
Yes. That's not good.
So guys, now that I've given the stats and everything, tell us, like, how's it going? Where are you? How are you feeling? Give us an update.
We're still here.
I noticed you're both in the car. That's a good sign.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's a different type of experience.
Yeah.
You know, unless you get in and do it, right? Like, crazy things happen, you know, when you're on the road. You know, like...
on a trip this long in a country this big, you can't be prepared for everything, but you have to work with what you've got.
I work with him. That's all I got.
Yeah, I can't work with him, but we're doing it anyway.
But he has, right?
But it's you got to use the resources that you've got, and we've, despite all the things that we've posted about, I think we were having a good time.
Yeah, like, you know, when you see the country, like, in a different, you know, you have a different respect for, you know, everything that Canada has to offer. It's so wide. You know what I mean? Like, it's a long.
Ontario is way too big.
Ontario is way too long.
I'm going to run for election and get them to make Ontario a little bit smaller, because it's crazy that you're 30 hours driving across one province. It's insane.
That is crazy. It's like you guys are still in Ontario, and when I say still, like when we spoke, you guys were just coming out of New Brunswick and entering Quebec and the Montreal area, which probably seems like a blink of an eye compared to how far you've been in Ontario.
Exactly. Yeah, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, it never ends. Like, province is never ending.
They should do Ontario A and B and C, so at least you
Split up in three
that's the progress, right? Because
Yeah.
the other provinces, you feel like you're making time.
And then the most scenic part of it, I'm ripping through it at nighttime, right?
Yeah.
You know, dodging coyotes and deer and all kinds of wildlife.
Oh yeah, that was a highlight. A car in front of us hit a deer.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to watch all the time. It's
you know,
Super laser focus, you know.
I was gonna ask you guys when you were doing it, when you guys were, when you went through Newfoundland, because I know Newfoundland, and even in the east coast of just New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, it's a high moose population out there, and it's a risk driving on the
Oh, yeah.
road.
On the way up, we just saw a moose standing on the road.
Yeah,
Now it was a young one, but it was like massive. You know, it was just standing on the side of the road, staring at us. Like,
Cyril tried, but he missed it. But
Yeah. Tried to swerve for it. It was like that was good meat. Yeah, it'd be good meat for at least the winter, right? It would have pulled us through for winter, but
Yeah.
not such luck.
No, I've heard from my friends in Newfoundland that it could be dangerous. There's been there's been family members and close friends of my friends that have lost their lives due to moose.
Moose, yeah, there's a sign posted like
Yeah.
how many people got hit, how many people got killed, right?
even by the superchargers in New Brunswick, there's a moose beware of moose sign as a reminder. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And how's but by the way, anyone that's tuning in, watching this live, if you have any questions for these guys, post it down in the comments below, and I guarantee you before the end of this meet and greet or Q&A, however you want to call it, I labeled it as a Q&A. We'll get your question on for sure for these guys. So guys, just some general questions that I'm going to ask you before we get to the actual questions that I've got some that from social media and stuff. How's the scheduling coming of driving and napping and sleeping, and how do you guys feel in terms of your sleep?
Well, definitely sleep deprived, right? Like, but what we've been doing is just like switching on and off. Like across the Northern Ontario, the charging network's really good. So
now we're into a routine.
now we're into a routine, like just like basically switch out every supercharger is what what we do because
Or we try to check.
Yeah, we're just
like how they
checking.
feel. Are you okay? One more leg. The legs we're doing now are much shorter, like 150, 160 kilometers, and then quick charge, and then hit the road again.
Right.
So it gives us a chance to alternate or keep going, whoever's more time.
Yeah.
Usually, I'll go a couple of legs.
What? Wait, hold up here, hold up. You know, this guy hired me, right, as an Uber driver to drive him, just to make it look like it. And then he kicks me out of the seat when we come on the podcast, so it looks like he's driving.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like I understand it's his car, right? Okay, whatever. And, you're flipping the bill. Okay, whatever. But those pictures that I posted, like on my page with him sleeping, like as soon as we're done here, he's gonna pull over right away. And we'll get back to driving.
I think I'll pull over and let him out.
So the routine is like to try to switch out every supercharger, do short charges, and get some rest. But if the driver is good to go, then just keep continuing. But usually it happens where you can't. You don't want to push yourself and overdo it, right? So we never really go to superchargers. I don't think we have yet, anyways. So the routine that we figured out
It
is
might pass one just to go a little further.
yeah. But, we'll switch out. And I would say every supercharger is good, right? Because you can plug in, you start to get a breath of fresh air, make it move and stay more alert.
So would you say that this is a better thing than if you guys were driving an ICE car and you would be driving for like 5 or 6 hours straight before you?
Absolutely. We've talked about that. Yes.
Well, here's the kicker too, right? Like we've gone through and come into towns, right, to plug in, and all the gas stations are all shut down. They're all locked out, right? So
At night.
So I don't know if we lost you or not. Yeah, you're back.
I'm good. I never lost you.
Yeah. So we've pulled into a lot of gas stations to charge along the Trans-Canada line, and all the gas stations are all shut down. Like, so if you're low on fuel and you're gonna run out, you're now stuck. You're stranded. You gotta sit at that gas station and wait, or where are you gonna go? right? When you're low on fuel.
Yeah.
And you can,
The chargers are on 24/7.
chargers are charging 24/7, right? And we never had a pickup.
That's true.
Absolutely.
I remember the furthest last couple of years ago I went with Franklin. The furthest north I've went in Ontario was the Sault Ste. Marie, and I remember just before we got into Sault, there was a sign on the highway saying next gas station, and I guess
Yes.
the only gas station was like something like 60 kilometers away, and it had a
No, I
time.
think it was 100. I've seen that sign. I think it's 100 and something.
Oh, maybe it was, but it had a
Yeah.
time, like business hours. So yeah, like I mean, it's letting you know that if you don't make it by that time, or you decide to skip that one, there's not going to be another one for a long time.
Because this isn't just a long drive; it's a remote drive. Like,
Yeah, it's remote. It's a long remote drive, right? Like I've seen, like you see so many vehicles like straight on the side of the road. You know, it's so hilly and windy and twisty, right? A lot of transport trucks stuck. You know, I was like going like, okay, that guy's transmission is burnt out. That guy's transmission is burnt out, right? Like, and then Jess goes like, oh, we're lucky we don't have transmission. I go like, no, we gotta drive you in with a transaxle, right? Like, yeah, it's just. And one guy walking late at night, it's so dark. You know, gas can. It's like, okay, well, there you go. You ran out of fuel.
Crazy.
because the cold temperatures have this over a long distance also suck a lot more gas than a lot of people might be prepared for.
The hills, climbing the hills, stepping on it, right? Traffic's moving, the transport trucks are flying, right? But the good thing about it is you can charge 24/7, right?
Yeah.
The gas coming through Northern Ontario, you're like I said, you're not so lucky.
I for one have never considered that until now. That's a great point, guys. Yeah.
We learned two things. Yeah, we really have. Despite the two of us, we've
Oh,
learned.
so that you guys learned that too? Yeah.
Me, I'm just full of knowledge. Jeff has learned a lot from me. I think that's why he dragged me out there. He wanted to pick my brain the whole time.
So you guys are still running with this show, okay? Because last time I spoke to you guys 2 days ago, you were doing the same thing. I've got a question. I got a question for you guys. I got a question for you guys from Jay Perez. He says, "Are you guys exclusively charging on level 3?"
So where?
In Newfoundland, we had no chance. So it was level 3.
So, but maybe the person also doesn't understand the different networks, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll finish. He did also. That was the question itself, but he did go on to say.
D3 though, because like D3.
Oh, maybe he did, because let me say the rest here. He said, "I did a road trip from Montreal to Halifax and found that level 2 charging is way more available in Quebec. Next, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Do you agree?" I think I have a feeling you guys are right. I think he's talking about V3s.
V2s,
yeah. Not levels, right? Yeah. So he means it's like, yeah, there's just nothing. We will try to skip a V2 if we can, right? Obviously, if we can't, we can't. Like, well, we skipped Sudbury, right?
Oh, you did?
So, yeah.
Yes, because it's V2.
It's V2, right?
North Bay and
Espanola, Baldwin,
Baldwin, is V3. So,
we're going to skip a V2 at any possible chance. But we knew there wasn't really that many anyways that we were going to skip. So
coming out of the eastern provinces, when you get on the Tesla network, they're mostly V2s.
anyways,
And once you get into northern New Brunswick, they switch to V3s.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. And what's also very good to know is that you guys are skipping these. Like I mean, some people think, and once again, this is where the myth and the misnomer to the general public is like, do you have enough chargers? Well, I've told my family and friends, it's like when I went down to Florida, and that's the example I can use compared to you guys, and it's nothing, but I said I was skipping 2 or 3 chargers sometimes down in the States, and they're like, really? They look like their minds were blown because they thought that I wouldn't have enough to get down there.
well,
On this particular route, there's more than we need, but it also depends on the car, right?
you gotta, if you have a standard range, right, you're going to stop at every one in the winter, right?
True.
If you have a standard range plus, you might be able to skip one. It depends. Again, it's relevant, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing it in summertime, yeah, you probably could skip oil.
I think the rule number one is know your car.
Your car, know your range, right? Know that there's
But not only the range, you have to know its capability under different conditions.
the conditions, right?
Right.
If you had let me finish, I'd explain that.
Okay, shut up.
You turn his hearing aid down. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Question number 2, and I'm not going to keep numbering them because there's a few and I'm going to lose count. By Tesla MD, how much would this trip cost in terms of gas? Have we thought about that, or have we tried to do a rough calculation?
You can go on Better Route Planner and look at
you can.
fuel costs. Right,
But the gas station prices around here are around $1. We've seen $1.80, right? So
so it depends, right?
it
Again,
depends where you are.
right? Like Quebec was like 160, 165. New Brunswick was
We saw 170.
170. Nova Scotia was Newfoundland was 178.
178. Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So
So
figure out how many liters
it's
you're going to put in your tank.
when you see those
How many
signs,
kilometers you're going to do in your tank.
you feel good. Cheers you right up.
Oh yeah, I can
Oh, yeah.
imagine. Oh, and just to clarify our last question by Jay Perez, he was referring to V2 and V3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. You know what? That's one thing I wish. I mean, and I know that the feature is brand new to the app. What I'm talking about is that charging
Exactly.
stats.
We use that. Yeah.
The charging stats. I wish you would be. Maybe Tesla can do this in the future. I wish maybe you could just like narrow it down to a week or a few days and see the stats from just that amount as opposed to just the last 31 days, because that would get you guys like a perfect indication of what you're saving compared to gas.
By the time I get the car home, it's crossed the country twice. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be.
So you've gone from Berlin
Yeah.
to Newfoundland, and then Newfoundland to here, and then from here back.
So we will track that. So
That's awesome. Okay.
Jeff's the data wizard. He's got all the
Is he?
data.
That's good.
He's got all the data in Wazoo. Right?
I like that. Okay. Some other questions that I've scrounged up from all forms of social media in the last 24 hours. Because remember last time we spoke, I before I left, I said to the listeners and the viewers, I said, if you have any questions for these guys, put them down below somewhere. I'll find them on social media somehow. And I apologize if I didn't find your question. I tried to scour as much as I could. I apologize. Try to put it on Twitter or in this channel itself, this YouTube channel, this YouTube video comments. That's the best chance of me finding it. But if it was hidden somewhere else, I apologize if I didn't get to it. But this one's from this question. Sorry, and I don't have it live on the screen. I just have it. I'm going off my phone. I apologize. This one's from Ken. He said he heard about Thunder-based superchargers were inaccessible due to poor snow clearing, and some chargers were dead. So, is it true that he met you guys?
yeah.
And to check things out, and he tested one out?
Yeah, I think it was around 5:45 in the morning, and we pulled in, and there was a white Y that wasn't plugged in, and there was a shadowy figure that turned out to be a human as we got closer. It wasn't a and he was there with a shovel, and he actually went ahead of us and dug out one of the superchargers and tested it with his own car first, so that we would have a wonderful experience.
That is
So-
amazing.